All right, today we're tackling a big one. We're going to talk about why one of the most popular retirement strategies out there might actually be fundamentally flawed. Yeah, I know. We'll break down its hidden weaknesses and, more importantly, reveal a much better, more resilient approach that's really taking over for modern retirees. Okay, so let's get right into it. For years, I mean years, the three-bucket strategy has been the go-to advice, right? It feels safe, it seems logical, and pretty much everyone endorses it. But what if that feeling of safety is just, an illusion? What if this whole strategy actually falls apart the second it's put under any real-world pressure?
And look, there's no denying its appeal. I get it. Financial advisors, retirees, they love it. Why? Because it seems to make a really complex problem feel simple. But, and this is a big but, as we're about to see, that very simplicity, that's exactly where all the problems start.
So what is this thing exactly? Well, the core idea is pretty straightforward. You compartmentalize your money. You create these separate pools of assets, and each one has a different job. The whole point is to, theoretically, shield your short-term spending money from all the crazy ups and downs of the stock market. So here's the classic breakdown. Bucket number one, that's your cash. It's meant to cover about 2 years of living expenses. Then you've got bucket two for the medium term. Think bonds, CDs, that kind of thing. That's for about the next 5 years of expenses. And finally, bucket three. This is your growth engine, all the rest of your money, mostly in stocks, that you're not supposed to touch for at least 7 years. The idea is to let it ride out any market bumps. See? It looks so neat and tidy on paper. And really, that's the main selling point, isn't it? The goal is to create this comforting illusion that you're in total control. Just seeing your money separated into these neat little buckets, well, it makes you feel organized. It makes you feel safe. But the truth is, it's just that, an illusion. And it's one that really only works in theory. All right, so now let's talk about what happens when this neat little theory crashes into reality. Because when the markets get volatile, and you know they do, this supposedly solid structure, it starts to show some really serious cracks. You can see the disconnect perfectly right here. The promise is, hey, we're going to isolate you from market volatility. But the reality? It actually forces you into market timing. The promise is peace of mind, but the reality is it becomes a huge source of stress. And that simple plan? Yeah, that dissolves into just pure panicked improvisation. So here's the absolute heart of the problem. The strategy has no systematic rules for its most important job, refilling the buckets. Think about it. When do you sell stocks to refill your cash? After a good year? Okay, maybe. But what if stocks and bonds are down, like they were in 2022? What then? You're just left guessing? You're forced to make these huge emotional judgment calls, which often means selling low, the absolute worst thing you can do, and the very thing the strategy was supposed to prevent. There's a quote that just sums this all up perfectly. A better name for this strategy might be the leaky bucket strategy. It's so true. On paper, those buckets look solid, secure, but in the real world, they're full of holes, and you're left scrambling to plug them with absolutely no plan. Okay, so we've seen why the old model fails. Now let's pivot. The solution isn't to create something even more complicated. No. It's about replacing that false sense of simplicity with something much more powerful: genuine clarity. And that really is the key question, isn't it? If that kind of simplicity fails, what do retirees really need? Look, you are not wrong for wanting something simple and safe, of course not. But what you truly need isn't a simple picture. It's a system that actually works when things get messy. And the answer is clarity. What you need is a smart, structured system that's built from the ground up to adapt, one that can handle changing market conditions without forcing you to constantly make these high-stakes emotional judgment calls. Okay, so let's get into the solution. It's called the 4-layer Guardrail Framework. And what is it? It's a rules-based roadmap. It's a system built on clear, specific rules, not vague concepts. The whole point is to provide a reliable plan that takes all that emotion and all that guesswork right out of the equation. So, instead of buckets, this framework has 4 distinct layers. First, you have sleeves. That's just your broad asset allocation structure. Then weights, which are the target percentages for each of your investments. Third, and this is crucial, are the triggers. These are predefined bands that tell you when to rebalance. And finally, frequency, a set schedule for your portfolio reviews. See? It's a complete, systematic process. Okay, but let's really zero in on layer 3, the triggers. This right here is where the whole system gets its power. These are your guardrails. They totally remove that agonizing question of, should I do something right now? And they replace it with a clear, data-driven answer. So, for example, let's say we set a tolerance band of 20%. What does that actually mean in practice? Let's take a look. It's actually really simple. Imagine you have an investment that's supposed to be 1% of your total portfolio. Well, a 20% tolerance band means that holding can drift anywhere between 0.8% and 1.2%, and you don't have to do a thing. But if it crosses that line, either up or down, the trigger goes off. The system tells you, hey, it's time to rebalance. There's absolutely no guesswork involved. So when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just stark. The bucket strategy is all about intuition, it's emotional. The guardrail framework, it's rules-based and systematic. Rebalancing with buckets is totally ad hoc and reactive. With guardrails, it's all about those predefined triggers. It's really the difference between an illusion of control and real structured clarity. And let me be super clear about this. This is not about reactive investing. This isn't about panicking over every news headline. No, this is structured, responsive investing. It's about having a system that responds to significant market moves in a calm, structured way. You're not reacting. Your pre-built plan is simply responding as designed.
So what does this all mean for you as a retiree? It means you get to move away from a system that's pretty much designed to create anxiety and instead move toward one that actually builds confidence, especially when the markets are going crazy.
And look, if you love the idea of having a cash bucket, that's totally fine. You don't have to give that up. With this framework, your cash just becomes one of your sleeves. It's still there, it's just an integrated part of a much smarter, more resilient system. At the end of the day, this is the big takeaway. It's all about trading the confusion of guesswork for the confidence of a clear roadmap. It's about recognizing that the old, simple picture was, well, kind of misleading, and replacing it with something that gives you genuine confidence because you know you have a solid plan.
So that leaves us with one final, pretty important question for you to think about. Is your retirement plan built for paper, or is it built for pressure? Because when you really think about it, the answer to that question could make all the difference in the world.